Unfortunately, there is a communication media that they try to demonize the Cuban government. Cuban government that is legally elected by the people. Of course, we are not a perfect state. Like any other country in the world, we have problems. But all these problems we have to resolve by ourselves. I can tell you with a lot of property that there was a few people that they were encouraged from abroad, especially from many media from the United States, to try to provoke that. Cuba made it many declarations about that. So I can tell you that it was something that in our country, the people, the majority of the people, is supporting our government and all the measures that we are doing in our country to improve the well-being of our people. No? The main subject of all that is the essence of the blockade against our country, to try to provoke disappointment in our population. For all these years they were trying to do that, and that was a manifestation of that. So now we are in calm, nothing happened, and we will continue improving our system. And everything that we do in our country, I can tell you, we will do it by ourselves, by Cubans.
Now, let's look at the impact of the blockade. I mean, it's been standing for over 60 years now. Surely it's unacceptable because the impact is quite severe on the ground. So how has Cuba been able to remain self-sufficient in light of the very devastating impact?
60 years passed, and the blockade is still in force. This blockade is the most inhuman, unjustified, criminal sanctions that suffer any country in the world for 60 years. We are talking that more than 60% of the Cuban population has been living under blockade. It means that most of our population, the majority of the population, they were trying to survive because of that. You can see the real aim of the blockade of the United States government against our country. If you see the memorandum on 1960 by Lester Mayori, he was the deputy assistant of the state secretary in the United States. It was clear to provoke hunger, disappointments, that people fail to try to overthrow the system in Cuba. You see, we are talking from 1960. That was the aim. Now it's the same aim, to try to overthrow our system, because the United States never admits that we are a sovereignty, an independent country so close to them. We cannot do what they want to do. As just I said before, Cubans decide what we are doing in our country. That is the reason of the blockade, to try to overthrow our system. Fortunately, our country, our people is united. We understand all these measures, unjust and criminal, is considered by many as an act of genocide against the people.
Let us look at now this critical program, Mr. Ambassador, around the medical specialists that have been coming to South Africa from Cuba right at the height of COVID-19. So we've seen a medical brigade coming to South Africa to assist. How are you hoping to sustain this and making sure it's well maintained, given the very benefits it does provide here in South Africa?
You know, for us, the Cubans, we have been educated in the solidarity, internationalism. Whatever country asks for our support, we will immediately support that country. In the case of South Africa, it's as you say, we have a program, Nelson Mandela Fidel Castro program. Since the very beginning, we started to provide medical assistance with Cuban doctors to South Africa. Doctors who works in the rural areas where people needs medical assistance there. But I would say more that this kind of cooperation is more comprehensive, because it's not only to provide the medical assistance with doctors, it's also to see the future, and that made it comprehensive with students, South African students who goes to Cuba to prepare as a medical doctors who in the future can work here in your country and support. But not only the health care system, we have that kind of cooperation. We have many others that we are doing, not thinking about economic benefits. It's through by soul of our governments and our people. Here in South Africa, in many provinces, we have this kind of cooperation in very fields. Waters, public works, wherever South Africa needs our support, we will be there.
And maybe just still on that issue, Ambassador, what would be your message to the young South Africans who are getting this opportunity? Because, you know, from time to time, you'll have like incidents where they are caught up, you know, sometimes making all kinds of claims about being ill-treated. But what would be your message for them so that they behave once they're in Havana?
You know, to be young is a normal process of life. It's a process that you start learning about life. But the most important for the young people is to never forget from where they are come. They come from something, especially from South Africa, from a struggle against apartheid, for example, apartheid. They have to keep in mind that South Africa got received solidarity for many countries in the world in the struggle against apartheid. That when we see the history of South Africa, the young people cannot forget that. They cannot forget the history. If you forget the history, you repeated the same mistake that was before. That's why I think that the young people have to think of that always. Every step that they made it, of course, improving, knowing that we have to improve mistake, but not made it a new mistakes there if we forget the story.
And just once again, Ambassador, I mean, recently we've seen South Africa donating about 50 million rand in terms of assisting Cuba to meet its own domestic demands. How do you make sure that this strategic partnership continues to benefit the two countries?
First of all, we always will appreciate the support that is given by the South African government and the South African people, because it's not only the governments, also there are many organizations, friends organizations here who support us. Not only material things, also morally support us. The situation in Cuba lately, because the reinforcement of the blockade was tough, was difficult. We received support and donation from many countries in the world. One of them was South Africa. This is we can say that support of South Africa